You're in New York. I mean, has the party stopped yet?
I mean, people are really excited, and it was very much needed, in terms of like hope. I mean, people are excited, but there's, the country is going through a particularly bad time, and there's, I think, also a knowledge that Trump's federal uh, paramilitary force. I really don't know how to really describe it. Brown shirts, thugs, Gestapo-like tactics,
Yeah.
under the guise of ICE, which is immigration enforcement. They're maybe people have seen the videos coming out of Chicago as of late. There's been other places around the country, but they are like beating up people. They're tear gassing people. The community in Chicago has been great in responding. But there's a real strong sense that he's going to do this in New York. And so I think I think people realize like there's celebration, but it really is more like this is an opportunity to get some stuff done and to do some work and to have it mean something. And so there's more of a sense of, I think, like people are like, okay, let's get ready. Man, it's almost like, the flood is coming, and finally a truck shows up with sand in bags, and now people are getting ready for it. And people were pretty excited that truck made it, but and now we got work to do. And but it's inspiring, I think, like other candidacies around the country. It comes at a time when there's been this sort of fight within the Democratic Party as to like, what is the way forward? And Mamdani, it's New York. It's not it's not Iowa, but there's a real sense that Mamdani was able to motivate young people in a way that hasn't been motivated before in New York. Was able to make to form a very broad coalition against the guy who had largely unlimited resources, albeit wasn't, was sort of a disgraced guy. But if you'd asked me a year ago, do I think Andrew Cuomo is going to be the next mayor of New York? I would have, sadly said probably yes.
You're right.
But so there's a lot of inspiration that's being taken from this, but I also think there's like, people understand this is, there's not too much time to celebrate. We've got to get to work, and you take this opportunity.
Does your gut tell you the Dems will follow his example across the country, or will the Dems reject it?
I think it's going to be a fight. I think it's going to be a fight. There's a candidate up in Maine who has gotten a lot of, who announced his candidacy in August. He is not the pick of the Democratic establishment. And I know that his campaign was, at least to some extent, inspired by Mamdani's win in the primary. And the excitement around him is sort of like bound up in Mamdani's success. And I think we're seeing at the very least, what is happening is that there's a sense that the Democrats need a new generation of leadership. And there's two elements to it, right? Like Mamdani represents not just new leadership, but a new, more working class oriented ideology, where the idea of the metric of a successful society or city or whatnot is not, whether a prince comes to the United States to get healthcare from a foreign country, but rather whether the most amount of people in the country, all the people, get good healthcare. And sort of like rather than sort of saying like, Sam and Bill Gates go into a room and like they're very, very wealthy. The idea is that we have two people with closer, a little bit less wealth disparity in that instance, and on a broad base. And there's that ideological turn, which I think was some of us in a decent amount in the Democratic Party, but certainly, not the majority, are pushing for. But what is really clear is that there's a much broader acceptance of the idea that like Democrats have to be more partisan, that they need to be aware of who the Republican Party is and respond accordingly. The leadership of the Democratic Party, and I don't want to say it's just about age, but it's certainly about an older perspective, an aged perspective on what politics are like. They're just not meeting the moment. They just do not seem to track the threat that Donald Trump represents and that the Republican Party represents at this point, to democracy, to the extent that we have it in this country. 6 months ago, if you'd said to me, do you think there's going to be elections in 2026 and in 2028, and it's going to go, it's going to be largely a function of like politics as normal on those elections, I would have said, yeah, probably. But increasingly, I think that is really in danger. I think we are really on the precipice, and Democrats have to function in a partisan manner and one that recognizes the sort of, read the room essentially. Yeah. And so I think that's happening more. And I think that's going to, hopefully set up an opportunity to have this sort of ideological fight and continue to move the Democratic Party to the left.